Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. If you hear some like whining, crying animal noises in the background, my dog Astoria gets very upset whenever I'm not with her. I wanted to film in my room because my cats are in here and I just wanted to be around my cats. Long story short, Astoria is downstairs and she's very upset that she's not upstairs. And I can't have her in the room with my cats without constantly having to manage her, so there's gonna be crying in the background. I hope she'll stop. I hope so. You know, she might not. So my 2023 has been off to a really rough start, which like January's generally always feel worse for me because I have depression, and like a lot of people, my depression is worse in January. But on top of that, I've had some other issues. Had a massive fall, didn't break anything, but I was in a lot of pain and I am still bruised from the fall. My ankle twisted, I lost my balance, fell off the front porch. You know, pretty normal fall, right? No, I'm just kidding. It's normal for me because I get hurt a lot, but like, don't fall off a front porch. Like, try to keep your ankles all steady and fine. Okay, and then besides just like depression and the fall, there is something that I need to talk about because I want to talk about my experience with COVID. I have been avoiding COVID for the past like 3 years. For basically all of the pandemic, I've managed to avoid it. Unfortunately, I caught it this January, which sucks because my depression was already really bad, and then I got COVID, and then my depression got worse, and it was a big mess. I'm gonna talk about like my symptoms. I'm gonna talk about how COVID interacted with my chronic illnesses because I feel like that's something really important to talk about. I'm also gonna talk about like what things I tried to manage my COVID symptoms to let you know like what you should try if you get COVID. So first of all, I need to clarify, there are multiple variants with COVID, obviously. The one that is currently circling around in my area, at least in my area, I'm sure it's probably in other places too, is one that is very easily spread. It's not as severe as some of the other strains, but it is hitting tons and tons of people. I'm grateful that I didn't get a strain that had worse symptoms, but I am frustrated because I know exactly where I got COVID from. There is someone in my life who chose not to wear a mask, and that person had someone in their workplace who had COVID, and that is all I will say, okay? Because I don't want to like directly hit on this person because I feel like there's like a 50-50 split, you know? Like, not wearing a mask definitely puts some responsibility on the person not wearing the mask. There's like 50% or more of me having COVID that is to blame on the person who showed up to my family member's workplace with COVID. So, you know, I have a lot of strong feelings about it. At the end of the day, just please try to wear your mask because this easily could have been avoided. I avoided it the whole pandemic because my whole family was wearing masks, and then once someone in my life stopped wearing a mask, we all got COVID, meaning my parents and I got COVID. My other family members that I see on a regular basis got COVID previously and got a worse variant, so like, sucks, but it is what it is, okay? I am thankful to be alive. I am thankful that I don't appear to have long COVID, and I just need to be thankful for the things that went right with this. So let's get into my symptoms. The first symptom that hit was actually an increase in my insomnia. And I know that's really weird, and I've like talked to people about it, and people are like, yeah, that didn't happen to me. Happened to me. I have really bad insomnia. I oftentimes don't get enough sleep because of it. Hence why I look like a zombie in a ton of my videos. I try and like perk myself up and be happier in the videos, but I'm like, yeah, I have insomnia and I have delayed sleep phase disorder, so like I get very little sleep. But anyways, insomnia is what was impacted first. That first night before I tested positive, which I'm sure would have tested positive if I had tested when I was having trouble sleeping, I didn't get like any sleep that night. And I was like, this is really strange. So I woke up after a tiny bit of sleep, and I was like, okay, I have drainage in my throat and my throat is sore. And I was like, I think I need to go take a COVID test. And I did, and I tested positive. So My first symptom that showed up was an increase in insomnia, but the symptom that I was like, I should probably test was drainage in my throat and a sore throat. Okay. So I don't know the order of the rest of my symptoms and when they hit, but I'm gonna go through a list that I wrote of all of them. So first of all, fatigue. I was so fatigued and I'm still fatigued. Like, that is the one symptom that will not go away. I have been desperately trying to get energy. I want to get back to doing productive things with my life, but I'm so fatigued that I can't function. To go along with fatigue, tiredness. I mean, I wasn't able to sleep very much when I had COVID, but I was so tired that I kept just like laying on the couch doing nothing because I didn't have any energy. So fatigue and tiredness are like different to me, in case you can't tell. I don't know if other people like explicitly can distinguish between the two. But for me, fatigue is like my body has no energy and I am a brick that can't function. Tiredness is, oh, I need to sleep. I have the urge to sleep. So it's two very different things, but sort of connected, you know? And then I had really bad nausea and stomach pain. And my parents did not have bad nausea and stomach pain. So this is one that was impacted by my chronic health issues. Specifically, I've had GI issues that I'm struggling to get help with, and POTS also can cause GI issues. So that was really fun to have really bad freaking nausea. And nausea, I don't know if I've talked about this that much, like I know I've complained about my nausea before. When my nausea is bad, my depression gets worse and my anxiety gets worse, so my mental health was like plummeting. And also, my nausea was so bad that I was not exactly getting flashbacks, but like I would close my eyes like to blink and I would see the hospital room in my eyes, the hospital room that I was in 2020. And so it was really freaky and disorientating because with flashbacks normally, they last anywhere from 30 seconds to a few minutes and I can't come out of it and I'm sort of like just struggling, but like it's different because like after I come out of it, I can be like, okay, I know that that's not going to happen again for a little while. But with closing my eyes, I'm like, every single time I blink, I see the hospital. So it was like confusing me. And I'd be like, I would open my eyes and I'd go, okay, I'm in the bath. Then I'd blink and I'd go, why am I at the hospital? And then I open my eyes and I'd be back. It was really disorientating. And it really was not doing wonders for my mental health. And then another symptom that hit me that unfortunately hit my parents too, well specifically just my mom, and I have been hearing from tons of people who have this variant that this is the symptom that is hitting most people, is body pain. And I have fibromyalgia normally, and so I am used to having pain, but this one was a little different than fibromyalgia pain because with fibromyalgia pain, it's sort of like all over, but it doesn't impact my joints. But this body pain from COVID impacted my joints. So I'd be like trying to read a book or hold my phone and my wrist would be hurting, my fingers would be hurting if they would be like curved around to hold a book. It was unbearable. But also I was thinking a lot about when I was having COVID that COVID is making people sort of like understand what I'm going through on a daily basis, because this body pain, while it's slightly different from fibromyalgia pain, now people who don't have fibromyalgia but get the body pain symptom from COVID know what I go through in my life on a daily basis. And same with the levels of fatigue. Like now people know, like, I am not fatigued on a daily basis. Like I can't just get better in like a week like people with COVID do. I am stuck with this and it is miserable and I wish that I could get rid of it, but I freaking can't because there is no cure for my conditions. The only condition that there is a cure for is endometriosis, and that isn't always a set cure, and I have to get surgery for that. But all my other health issues, no cure, unfortunately. And then let's talk about the drainage some more, because we all love to talk about phlegm on a YouTube channel, right? Sorry that my dog's barking. There's a husky walking with a tiny dog. I always find those combinations weird when like people have a giant dog and like a tiny dog. Anyways, Cookie is like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to them. I know that they're out there. So, with the drainage, I feel like most people have experienced drainage before, but if you haven't, it is snot that is going down your throat and into your stomach, and it can make you feel queasy and My issue with drainage this time was that it was making me cough. So I wasn't having necessarily like a normal COVID cough, like it was just the drainage causing me to cough. And it sucked because this drainage for some reason kept making it so that I was choking on my pills a lot because it made it feel like the pills weren't going down right. So I was having a hard time getting in all the medicine that I needed. And I'm talking like medicine on a normal basis because I take a lot of medicine on a normal basis. I might talk about that at some point in the future because I've been considering talking about that because I'm on a lot. I have a combination that sort of works. But also, my family members didn't cough as much as me, and I think it's because I have a really strong gag reflex. And I've only realized recently that I have a really strong gag reflex. Like, it's sort of, I've been like processing my time in like the hospital and stuff, and I'm like, I puked a lot in the hospital, and that was because I have a gag reflex. Every time the feeding tube would go in, I would puke. So yeah, I have a strong gag reflex, so that sucks. Also, I have this thing called white hairy tongue, which normally when you hear the word hairy tongue, you think of drugs. It is not drugs. I don't talk about this much because it's really gross, but in my situation, my immune system is very weak for my health issues, which can cause that to happen. And since I am on a liquid diet, I don't have solid food going on my tongue to scrape my tongue as a natural scraper, and so I have white hairy tongue. And it got really worse with COVID. I will never show you my white hairy tongue because it is literally disgusting, but that was causing me to gag too. And it was like my immune system was weaker because of COVID, so I was more susceptible to white hairy tongue getting worse. It was not fun. So let's go back to the coughing a little bit because the coughing led to two different issues. The coughing first led to me hurling. Actually, it led to three different issues, okay? So it led to me hurling. I puked. It's just traumatic because puking, like, and me don't mix. We are not friends. We are mortal enemies. And then I pulled muscles in my chest and my shoulder from coughing. Like, I was literally just working on a puzzle with my mom, like, because I was trying to do something productive with my time instead of just laying around all the time. And I pulled a muscle right here in my chest, and then I pulled right here in my shoulder. So that was pretty sucky. And my coughing also led to head pain. And there was a pain right here from all the coughing, and my family members had this too. I look weird going like this. So yeah, it was not fun to be coughing, but the coughing wasn't so much like coughing because of COVID, it was like coughing because of the drainage that COVID was causing. So I guess in some sense I was coughing because of COVID, but it was a little more complicated than just COVID makes me cough, you know? My dog is really crying downstairs, oh my. The next thing is I had sore eyes. I was worried that I was getting a sty, but the sty never appeared. It was just my eyes being really sore and uncomfortable. Then I had chills, which I'm pretty sure means that I had a fever. I didn't take my temperature because my parents, like, they were taking their temperature and we only have one thermometer, and I was like, it's more important for them to take their temperature because they're the ones who have to get back to normal job and life, and I don't work obviously, so I was like, I'll just let them take the fever. So I'm presuming that I had a fever, but I'm not 100% sure. The chills were mostly just for like a day or two. They went away pretty quickly. That was the one symptom that I'm like, thank goodness it didn't last longer. It was the one symptom that was like there very briefly. And then my sense of smell was dulled, which I actually didn't notice for a while. I have to use an analogy to describe this, but imagine you broke your arm. But as you're falling and breaking your arm, you also scraped your knee. Are you going to necessarily realize that you scraped your knee when you have a broken arm? Not really. But if that broken arm is more taken care of and you stop feeling pain there, you may notice your scraped knee. So in that sense, I was having worse symptoms. So I didn't notice that my senses were any different until my other symptoms started to go down, and then I noticed that my sense of smell was dulled. Specifically, scents can sometimes help me with my anxiety and depression, and I was like trying to do that, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really smelling anything. So it wasn't like completely gone. I could definitely smell very strong smells, but I couldn't smell just like average everyday smells. And then the final one has to do with a health issue that I have. I can't burp, and I know it's so weird to say. I have what I call frog noises coming up. I guess some people might say that it's acid reflux. It's like this really strange like frog noise, and it makes me feel like I'm gonna puke. It makes it hard to swallow pills, and I had an increase in that. So yeah, those were all my symptoms. As you can tell, it was not fun, but it could have been a lot worse. I did not have to be hospitalized. I had no lung pain. I didn't puke too much. I didn't have a loss of taste, and I didn't have the weird COVID symptom that some people have been talking about where their senses get so messed up that all food tastes like sewage. So I'm thankful that it wasn't worse, but this wasn't fun. A lot of it felt like I was just having a really bad flare of my health issues, but there was some other stuff on top, like the drainage, the coughing, the chills, you know, those type of things were added on top. But a lot of the other symptoms, like, would just be the equivalent of me having a bad, like, health day. So yeah, those were my symptoms. Now let's talk about some things that I tried. And I didn't try much because there isn't really much you can do for COVID. And we inquired about the COVID, like, medicine thing. There was some people in my family's life who was, like, encouraging us to ask about it. Just for reference, what we got told by our doctors is that unless you have a specific health issue that increases your risk of COVID, and I'm not talking like my health issues increase my risk of COVID, I'm talking like if you have severe asthma, if you have lung issues, those type of things, then you can get it. And also there is some side effects to the COVID medication, so they have to weigh that based on like, oh, is it worth the side effects for you to take it? I think my dog is at my door right now. I'll show you a little bit of her later. So one of the things I tried was a heat pack for my stomach pain and my nausea. It worked for comfort, but it didn't really do anything for the nausea or pain. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of the reason why I use heat packs, just for comfort, but yeah, it didn't really do much. Then I tried BioFreeze for my aches and my pulled muscles. It helps with my pulled muscles. Okay, it helps when I pull my muscles from coughing. It does nothing for the aches associated with COVID. I tried to leave because I can't take Tylenol or Advil. They just make me feel really sick. So I took a leave, and I took it late in the night, and I couldn't tell if it provided help and let me sleep or if I just took it too late in the night to notice a difference, because I personally didn't notice a difference, but I did notice like I slept a little better after I took a leave, so I'm thinking that maybe it did something, but that like I took it so late that I didn't like register that I didn't have pain. I just maybe slept a little better. And I took cough drops too. They provided a tiny bit of help, but they didn't provide much help. And more help was soothing my throat, because my coughing wasn't so much like a tickle in my throat, it was like the drainage. So it just helped with my sore throat a little bit, but not a ton. So those are all the things I tried, because there isn't really much you can do for COVID. So yeah, please wear a mask. If you do get COVID, the guidelines that I saw said that you have to have at least 5 days where you're quarantining, and then if you are starting to feel better after those 5 days, then you have to spend 5 days wearing a mask, because masks are optional in a ton of places. Obviously, I'm very much keen to have everyone wear a mask to protect other people around you, but you of course don't have to, because it's not really a requirement everywhere now. And then also I have been hearing that after you have COVID and you are showing signs of improvement, your immunity is stronger for 3 weeks, and then your immunity disappears. I saw a really good analogy on Twitter recently that said that getting COVID works for your immune system like eating a bad meal that causes food poisoning works for your hunger. So what that means is getting COVID will provide you temporary immunity. For a little bit it will have been better. It will provide you some good effects, but pretty soon your immunity is not going to be there anymore. Just like how if you eat food and get food poisoning, it helps with your hunger for a little bit, and then you are soon puking, and it didn't help with your hunger in the long run. So yeah, COVID is not fun. It sucks. I don't wish COVID on anybody. Please stay safe. Please wear a mask. For reference, I'm also vaccinated, so this would have been a lot worse if I was not vaccinated, so go get vaccinated. If you're scared to get vaccinated, just remember that there is people in the world who can't get vaccinated due to health issues. Any sort of side effect, small side effect that you may have from the vaccine will be worth it, because you will be helping to keep these people safe who can't have the vaccine. That's the way people should view it, because a lot of the COVID procedures and a lot of quarantine and stuff is to keep other people safe. If you have perfect health and you feel fantastic and you have no increased risk with COVID, you should still follow the procedures to keep people around you safe who are immunocompromised. So yeah, I hope this video was informative. I know it's not necessarily my happiest video because obviously COVID sucks, but I hope that it was informative. I hope it gives insight into how COVID interacts with chronic illnesses. Obviously there are certain conditions that it will interact with a lot worse, specifically ones that impact breathing and the lungs, but this was how COVID impacted me. And I am thankful to be a little bit on the mend, but I just wish I would get my full energy back. I hope all of you are having a great start to your 2023. I have lots of other videos up about my health issues, and I will link a playlist down in the description below to all of these videos regarding my health issues. I talk about my health issues often on here. It is just a huge part of my life, and it is constantly on my mind, so it's something that I constantly want to raise awareness for my health issues, and I constantly want to just give people an insight into how I'm doing. So yeah, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video, and until next time, goodbye.